It's always been an interesting discussion, hard cases with customizable foam. On one hand, it's really cool to customize that foam, pick and pluck, or actual customized foam with a hot knife or something. And with that, you get to have your handgun or your rifle or your gear all set out in their respective places, and it's always there. But on the other hand, it's a very permanent option, a lot of times very expensive. And if you want to switch that stuff out, it gets even more expensive to buy new foam, right? So it's very permanent in my opinion, but I still love the idea of it. There are more modular options, right? You have the DACA grid, which is a bunch of cubes you move around. I haven't tested that out yet beyond just seeing the stuff at SHOT Show that I've looked at and messed around with. And same with Pelican. Pelican's coming out with a new option as well. And that is another video that I did at SHOT Show talking about their customizable grid kind of system with pegs versus blocks like Magpul. So what if I could tell you that we're gonna do a project today from a local store called Harbor Freight. You've probably heard of it. The Apache 3800 rugged mobility case. This is about 20 inches diagonal. And I'm gonna show you today how we're gonna build out this case to have 4 handguns of almost any size. Maybe not a Desert Eagle, but we could probably cram one in if you wanted to. Let me show you what is the deal with this case, why it's only 40 bucks. It's actually just under $40, and it's sold out all the time because it's such a great option. It comes with foam, and you can make it a very nice permanent option for 4 different handguns with a bunch of mags. Let me show you the design I thought of, how it works. Let's build it together. Now, of course, at the heart of the Apache 3800 is a hard plastic case, right? You do have the TSA locks on each side. You have an equalization valve right here, like so. It is a weatherproof option. It's not really waterproof, but they call it weatherproof. It has an O-ring around there. We'll show you guys that. Weatherproof, dustproof, impact resistant, of course. You can kind of see some of the details here. There is the dimensions if you need them. Pause the video there, look that up. But at the heart, it is just a standard plastic case. And again, cheap, right? Harbor Freight, known for their cheapness. Sometimes decent quality, sometimes crap. This is kind of hard to mess up for what I am using it for. Pop her open, simple lift. There are no nice expensive push buttons on top here like you see in some of the nicer Pelicans. But again, you're not paying Pelican prices or anything like that. So this is just a budget option here. Open her up, all right? Now on the top, you do have foam, nice smooth plastic lid. I would suggest with this top foam, crazy glue, just the whole thing. Some Gorilla Glue, you can buy big bottles on Amazon, just the whole thing, because I'm gonna permanently set this up for pistols, all right? To give you a basic outline on plucking using a marker. We probably won't need that today. We're gonna do some plucking with some other tools here. I'll show you this to make this really easy and more permanent. But what you have in here, glue that, you have a ring around the whole section here, nice rubberized ring on the top lid. If that does pop out, which it seems to do a little bit, I would again Gorilla Glue that whole ring lightly with Gorilla Glue. In here, you'll see smooth bottom lid, right? Check this out. So you have 3 layers. Base, we're not gonna touch the base. In fact, if you want, again, probably glue this down. And when we're done, you may want to consider gluing some of this down, but it might not be necessary with what we're about to do to this to make it kind of more permanent and more rubberized here. So check this out. So you have all of this grid, okay? Now there's a ring around the outside, this foam ring, and this is cheap foam. I mean, it's not the cheapest. It's not like this egg foam stuff up here that is really, really cheap, but it is relatively cheap foam, and we're gonna have to fix that a little bit to make it more quality and make you feel a little bit better about this. So there's a thicker ring around the top and the bottom and the sides. We're not gonna touch that, okay? But what we will need for this job, razor, all right? X-Acto knife, all right? I wish I had a longer one. I think I broke some of the tips off, but this will work. This will do, get in there. It's already pre-scored. You could use a hot knife. You could use a hunting knife, a fillet knife, something sharp, narrow, and long, right? Also, in the end, I'll show you how to use this. Plasti Dip, all right? We're not gonna coat this too heavy because you wanna make sure you don't get your firearms all stuck in there or get a bunch of this flaking off on there. Light coat, maybe a couple of coats. We'll see how it goes with this type of foam, with this quality, but this Plasti Dip has worked really well in the past to make a more rigid, at least top layer, possibly spray a little bit in between, kind of stick it there a little bit, or again, you can probably do some glue. We'll work on that. Now, we do have this grid pattern. So I've counted it out a little bit. The pistols are gonna work great for my design. The magazines are, it's an odd number, so it's gonna be a little different. But essentially what we're gonna do, let's take the Ruger RXM, okay? And you also have a Shield Gen 1. Look at that guy. This thing I carried for like years, like 5, 6 years when it came out. The old Talon grips on there, little 8-rounder. It's back before the old 365 days and all that. Dagger Saber, more of a 19X size, but full tactical. This is one of the more larger handguns I have because it does have that full tactical look to it with a light. And I'm going to show you how to set that up. So let's start with the RXM. Okay, so notice how this is going to take probably 2 squares, right? That way, okay? And then you're going to probably go and cut maybe 1 square off of the boundary. Honestly, probably all of it, because if you look at the size of this with a light, it's going to be pretty thick. And of course, magwells kind of jack this up a little bit. You don't want to cut it too loose. You can, we can go 3, but you're going to not be able to fit all 4 handguns. So I would go, if you don't have a lot of magwells that are oversized like this one, we're going to go 2 across. All right, and we're going to cut probably straight all the way up. That way these things will slide in like so. Now when they do slide in, these will eat up all the way down like so, with just a little bit sticking out. And it'll probably rest a little bit more like this. So you can kind of pivot them in the case, just enough to close the lid, because the lid has almost a couple of inches to play with. So that's why we're gonna glue that foam down, and that way you have a couple inches to play. Should be fine. So that's gonna be like that, 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 that. And the best part is, even the little handguns will fit with the 2 squares knocked out on each side all the way down, right? So that's good, should be nice right there. Now magazines, all right, so let's say this stays here, right there, with the first 2 actual squares cut out all the way up down. Well, these are a little taller. They're gonna go down, it's gonna be a little tight with some of the Saber extended mags, but here's a Mekar 17, so Glock 17, here's a Glock 19, here's a little 22 for a Smith & Wesson 22 compact. These are gonna be sinking right down nicely. Now how this is gonna work is we're gonna go and put it 2 right there, and then what I decided was 4 cubes, right, will fit a mag either way nicely. But let's go this way and go 1, skip 1, 2, skip 1, 3, skip 1, 4. Now, let's say you skip 2. So I'm gonna start here. So I'll skip 1, right here, skip 2, 2 mags, skip 2, 3 mags, skip 2, 4 mags, and then you have 2 cubes left up here. So that's the goal, all right? So we go, you can skip 2 on the bottom or skip 2 on the top, but either way you're gonna have 1 and 2 of the lines skipped. So basically gonna go and pluck out this mag here, skip 2, mag here, and that'll separate your mags even more. And that's gonna line up where then you leave a line in between, just like we did for the handgun, line in between for the next handgun, line in between for the next mag, line in between, and that evens out exactly to 4 handguns with 4 mags for each. Pretty sweet deal. Let's get plucking. Now, this is not about speed, because if you want these nice and clean cut, you don't want to use your fingers. I know it says pluck literally on the box, but if you do that, there's potential for ripping the fibers in an odd pattern, so there'll be too much on one side or too much on the other, and then you might even tear out some chunks here because of how cheap the foam is. So highly suggest the razor, right? If it's long enough with this X-Acto knife, then you can reach all the way to that second layer, okay? Or, you know, you can go and try to do it together, all together, or you can go and split it up and do 1 at a time. And I would just do cut out one whole line for a handgun, do the next one, cut out the whole line for a handgun, figure out where the mag is, do the next one the same way with the mag, and then you can not have to bother with this. But for that first couple cuts. I'm gonna try it with just the foam in here because that way it's also kind of compressed a little bit too. It's all compressed inside the case where it's gonna be. And all we're gonna do is start really carefully, get in between the cracks. Start plucking there. You can go up this way too. Just cut little by little. We don't want to tear too much. And you don't want to cut through that little safety layer here too. So take your time, cut out there, come over here, cut out the top layer. And then once you get the top, you can kind of dig in a little bit and you can go straight down. And that's why I think this knife is not going to make it all the way through the second layer. But the other thing you want to do is you want to stop exactly at that corner, right? Because that corner is where you're going to have that barrier for the mag. So let's not cut anything that isn't the handgun slot, right? And as you get to the middle, because there's more compression in the middle, it gets so much easier. I should have just bought another exact knife. This one's kind of gummed up. I might clean this up with some alcohol here in a minute. Okay, go slow. Do a little saw action there. All right, see where we're at. So we're at almost to the bottom of the first layer. So cut, and then go back again. This is already fallen nicely apart. All right, now we get to this side over here. Where is that line? Right there. All right, turn. Chop, chop, chop. Nice and even. Don't want to butcher this. It's very much a technical thing. In fact, I have a fillet knife for like chicken thighs and stuff. I could just grab that. That could go all the way through. Nice and slow. There you go. Now, let's see where we're at with this. So if you lift this up, kind of see on the bottom how much you hit through there. There's some left. You can spin it over. Just go through. Not too bad, a little chewed up there, but see, watch. So now if I start pulling it apart, sometimes it's nice and clean. Actually, it's really good. I need a little bit up here. There's like a flap there that's kind of messed up. And what we're going to do with that Plasti Dip is going to clean up a lot of the imperfections too. And hopefully also make it a little more permanent. So now, got one done, all right? And see, there's still some shavings. You can actually go in and really clean this up if you want. Just go through, clean up some of the fibers. Yeah, take your time. We're gonna clean this up. And then go on this side and do the exact same thing with this one. All right, you can even flip them around if you want. These are the same exact everything. So if you want to flip them around, you can, right? Just go in. I'm gonna clean this razor blade here in a second too. Nice and slow. Nice, clean cuts. Start where you can get in. You can use your other hand to kind of see where it is. See? All right, now let's say, just to show you that first part, right? So here's what it's gonna kind of look like. Let me get the Ruger RXM. When this goes in, you're gonna be like this, all right? And it's gonna be fully encapsulated into both the foams. How cool is that? So that's gonna be, it's even one piece, it's pretty rigid without even any kind of Plasti Dip. But see, that I think the two is perfect. Now, look how thick this light is. Let's see if this works. Even with the light, with that big old magwell with the foam double layered up, this should fit very nicely as well. And then you have the shield. Okay, that's gonna be a little looser, but again, one size fits all, still more protected than even throwing it in a bag usually. Let's do the mags, okay? And then I'll finish this other line and we'll come back. Well, that's like art class. We'll come back together. come back at the end and let's share our work. Yeah, no, but let's see, 2. I'm gonna skip 2, 4, so double check your work. So let's skip 1, let's do 2. So we're like right there. Let's skip 2, do 2, let's skip 2, do 2. I don't know if you can hear the dog sneezing behind me here. Skip 2, do 2, and then you're gonna have, what, 1? Oh, you actually might have 1 exactly on each side. So that might be the way to go. Skip 1, double for the mag, for a perfect cube for the mag, another cube for a spacer, perfect cube for the mag, cube for the spacer, another cube for the mag. Dog is sneezing behind me. Double spacer, cube for the mag, and then a single spacer. Okay, so this actually is perfect. All right, this didn't work out much nicer than I thought even, because the way it's added up just from the light here is kind of weird the first one I showed you. Also, the pollen is going crazy today in North Carolina, so I'm sniffling, the dog's sniffling, you know how it is. All right, so this one. Now, this is even more delicate, I think, than the handguns. The handguns, I think, are the easy part, because this, you want to have that nice clean buffer right there for the handgun, right? So, let's see if I can get this cube out here. There we go. And cut. Once you cut that first little line, then you can kind of go straight in and start going in. It's not too much. And then you can kind of cut straight to the end, and then once you get the blade in, you can go straight to the end, and straight to the end. Get in there, try to not butcher it too much, get it nice and clean, straight to the end. All right, can we get out the rest? Let's see. I don't want to pluck it too much here. Where is it tied in? Okay, perfect, perfect. Now check this out, boom. So now you're gonna have, let's say we take this out, put this here. Now we're gonna have 1 mag here, it's gonna go up to about here, and you're gonna have the double spacer, another mag. So that's gonna be perfect, so that's great, because now you have the handgun, 4 mags, and the other 3 handguns, 4 mags each. Let me finish this up, and then I'll be right back with you guys to show you the almost final product and how it came out. And then we'll go outside, do the spray, call it a day. All cut out and ready to go for next steps. Now, I tried to do at one point straight down and cut all the way through both layers, right? And what I found was that the foam is kind of weak, obviously, cheap foam, right? I mean, the case alone is probably worth $40. So with that, the foam itself is a little weak. So you can kind of see even down here, I have to clean this up, how it kind of is sticking out a little bit. That's because when you push a knife straight down, it actually kind of curves a little bit on here, and these didn't line up exactly right, but they're fairly close. So what I want to do next is I want to clean up a little bit. Also switched over to a fillet knife, a deboning knife right here from the kitchen. This is just one I had from Amazon, Japanese steel. Worked much better than my beat up X-Acto knife, but get a new X-Acto knife with fresh blades. Same thing, they're cheap enough, right? So what I want to do, I'm thinking, is taking some Gorilla Glue. Now, gluing foam that's cheap like this and very porous, it's not very dense, you want to be very careful, because if you do too much, if you've ever glued foam before, you're going to go and harden like a whole 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch area, because that glue just soaks in like a sponge, right? Just seeps right through, soaks in. So what I'm going to do is probably start at the bottom here, and I'm gonna go and hit just a couple of points with a very thin amount of Gorilla Glue, and I'm gonna stick that down, make sure that it's exactly where I want it, and then I'm gonna go and hit it again with a couple of points here and there, right? Some reinforcers, any part that I maybe have split from when I was working here, accidentally cutting this earlier, then what I'll do is repair that in this process, and also I wanna clean all these little bits up before that, right? So I wanna make sure this is clean and as nice as I'd like it before we work on the Plasti Dip next. So let me go and glue this, and then make sure I mold this exactly where I want it, let it all glue down, because I'm not gonna be moving this. If anything, I could consider gluing this to the bottom of the case, but maybe I won't glue the foam to the bottom of the case. I think just in case I ever want to swap it out for a different type of foam. You never know if something happens to this foam, but I will glue the 3 layers of foam together and also glue the foam on the lid. This whole job probably takes maybe less than an hour to do, except for the dry time. So obviously glued all of the pieces together. Now I can take this whole thing out and it should look like this. Still a little flimsy though, right? I mean, it'll do, but with how cheap this foam is, I'd anticipate it starting to kind of deteriorate over time, but that is what Plasti Dip is for. So I don't know if I mentioned this, but you can get this over at your local hardware store, typically, maybe even Walmart, honestly, Amazon if you want, right? This stuff right here is basically liquid rubber, so it's a protective rubber coating. You want to start with a thin coat. I think that's the way to go. Maybe thin coat over all the interior pieces and then probably exterior as well, just to kind of make sure you seal up the outside. So you're gonna want to take this whole thing out, right? Put the case aside. Also that lid did finally glue. I actually flipped this on its side and put some heavy weights on it to make sure it sticks, because this foam up here is kind of flimsy, so you want to make sure it sticks down. And now it is really tight on there, so it's not going anywhere. Put this to the side. Get yourself some protective cardboard. Give this a good shake. Might want to try this out real quick. Take a look at how this works. Ready? So it's in a line vertical. From about 6 inches away, you look at about a 2 to 3 inch spray. So what we'll do is simply a quick coat, I think, on the whole thing. I'm gonna let that soak in. Maybe in the slot a little bit. And I do like the straight vertical line, because look, now you can just go straight in, right? And go on the edge here, on the edge here. And this is going to seal and hopefully make this whole thing a little more rigid, but it's great because that spray gets right in all the cracks there. So now you can go and start working the other sides if you want, just to kind of get this whole thing going. So here, take a look at this here. So we can go and just go however you want to do it. Just go back and forth. Let's do one coat, let it dry, see how firm it is, and you can apply more as needed, and we'll see what this final product looks like. It is gonna be pretty sticky, so let it just rest, maybe on one of the sides, because you don't really mind the sides too much, and then also in a well-ventilated area, because this stuff is very toxic, stinks, flammable, extremely flammable. You know how that is. So it's actually pouring right now, so I'm in the garage, but with the garage door open, so you don't see me pass out on the camera. Ta-da! Oh wait, no, just kidding. Yeah. So ended up doing 3 coats on the sides and bottom. All right, just coat, let it dry. With a fan on it, it dried in like 15 minutes, maybe each coat. Dried. Then, as you can tell, a lot more coats. In fact, lost count because I just kept doing coat after coat after coat over the course of an hour and a half or so, and just used up the entire can. And check this out, you can see, yeah, it's flimsy, but look, it's all rubberized, right? So that's gonna help it so it doesn't fray ever. It's not gonna just fall apart, and it's gonna last a much longer time just dumping that one can into it, right? Now let it fully dry, of course, before you seal it up and just add this lovely fumes into your firearms. So I'm actually gonna show you what this looks like loaded up, and then I'm gonna let this dry actually in the garage for a few days, because I do wanna make sure that it's fully dry before I lock it in an airtight case. So I grabbed 12 mags, actually, sorry, 16 mags. I grabbed 16 mags and a bunch of different types of firearms. So here's a M&P 2.0 compact in there. So if you want to take it out, you're just going to go and take it out like so, right? Now M&P, actually, the one I grabbed here, is super aggressive, you know, but the old 2.0s there. Taurus, right? Revolver, 6-shot, 856. Now you wouldn't really have a revolver because there's nothing really put in here, I get it, but I wanted to throw that in there, kind of give you an idea of what this looks like. Of course, you talked about it, probably one of the larger framed firearms I have, just because I added a light to it. And then also you have this mag well that's pretty beefy that goes in there. But look, it isn't really catching on as much as it was before. So that's good, right? That's nice. Shield, again, drops right in there. So let's grab some mags. You can orientate these however you want. Here's like some 15 round P mags. You got like a 226 mag. Ooh, a Steyr. Love me a Steyr. You got some more P mags in here. These might be tough. I really don't know if the tall, they're about the height of the pistol though. They might work. The tall saber ones might work in there. Load up a few more. And again, these orientate either way, which is cool. And they're not gonna move around too much. But it allows you to have that wiggle room, as it were, on how you want this to work. And this is simply a function test on loading these up and showing you that they're now rubberized and it's not going to just tear apart the cheap foam. So that's a key spot here. Missing one. Oh no, I grabbed a little guy too to round out the 16. That's a key spot here on how, this one got pivots, you want to develop this, is you really need to rubberize this. If you just cut this out, or even you see the pictures of like, oh, put a gun like this, cut out like that, and then put another one like this, have a couple of mags, I get it. That's simple, but look at how much stuff I fit into this. Now, does it close? Oh, it doesn't close. No, actually, if you push it down, it's not bulging. Look, there's room. All right, lift it up. Now it is a little heavy, right? It's 4 guns. Most of those mags are loaded, so something to consider there. Open it up, and you're golden. I think this is a little tall, you know. Also, these are, let's see, the 17 rounds, the Glock 17 plus the extension. They also have the 21 rounders. So the 21 rounders are about this size too, so PMag 21 rounders aren't gonna fit. Extended mags might not work. You might wanna save a slot to stack in here. Alternatively, if you want, you can go and do these 3. You can design it how you want, right? Do these 3, save this, and cut this out into a whole rectangle. Have it for extra storage. You can put some headphones in here, put, you know, some tooling in here, whatever you might need for the range, potentially some iPro in here, and then you can actually have this case that is fully loaded out and organized and more protected than a soft case. And again, that price point is perfect. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this project. I'm excited. I'll be bringing this to range all the time. It is going to be a great option to protect everything I have when I'm going to the range, and it's just something that I think was a good purchase if you're or in the local area looking for something interesting to do from Harbor Freight. Check out these cases. Again, Apache 3800. Thanks again for watching. Comment down below if you have any questions about this process. If you have any ideas on improving what we did here today, hit them down in the comments. I'd be happy to answer any questions and read those comments for you. As always, train hard. You never know what's coming. Take care of the ones you love. Those are the ones that matter. And we'll see you in the next review.